Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. My name is Joe, and with me is...
Dak.
Jamie.
And Data.
Yes, we're all here, and we're talking about Elantris, chapters 18 and 19, wherein some crazy stuff happens with Hrathen's sermon. He finally does get an Elantrian. It's not anyone we know, unfortunately. At least I don't think so. I may be proven wrong on that. But then the Arteth kind of goes off the rails. Dilaf does some craziness. We end up having to burn up the Elantrian, which is kind of sad. And Hrathen dresses him down and then concocts some kind of plan with some kind of potion. So we'll see, I guess, what that has to offer. In the next chapter, Raoden, we find out, is actually feeling lots and lots of pain and unable to get over it like his other compatriots are. He's having trouble shaking it off. And we get a little background into him being healed by Elantrians. And it seems like maybe we're getting a little closer to understanding how the magic system of the Elantrians works. So that is all, I believe. Hold on to something. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Feed the fire, set me free in this city of dreams. Push my mind into overload. Hack the wires, smash the gene in this city of dreams. We'll be immortal in the code. Mind into overload.
So, yeah, it's funny that you say, like, unfortunately, it wasn't someone we know, because I was like, well, he got burned to death, so maybe that's fortunately it wasn't someone we know. I don't know. What did you guys think of these two chapters this week?
Yeah, I mean, Hrathen, he's having some problems. I think some of Dak's predictions may be coming to pass here. Like, Dilaf's getting out of hand. It's not going well. He keeps jumping, onto his own track to do his own thing, even though he knows that, Hrathen doesn't want him to do these things. And then also, he keeps giving Hrathen looks. So it's definitely not going to bode well for that working relationship. You know, it's like if you're a direct subordinate, just like you tell them to do one thing and then they just do whatever they want all the time, and then they also just look at you rudely all the time. And when you
Scream.
Yeah, and when you criticize them, they're just like, well, I think I did the right thing. So yeah, that's a difficult working situation to be in for Hrathen, for sure. Looking at it from a perspective of just like having somebody that he works with very closely, and that being the relationship between them, it's definitely not ideal. Not ideal at all. The Elantrian, you just feel bad for, of course, because it's like he's just like, I'm so hungry, and then he's like, yeah, buy him some food, take him back, and then Dilaf's like, nope, that's not happening. So that was a bummer. I'm interested to see what this potion does and why he needs 2 doses. Because I thought maybe it was specifically for Dilaf, but if that's the case, why does he need 2? So I'm wondering what exactly that does. Maybe the other dose is meant for Sereni. I don't know. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. And then Raoden, yeah, again, both these chapters were just kind of bummers. A little bit of excitement with the Raoden chapter, like things seem to be going well for the people around him. He's getting people on their feet, but there's a lot of there's a big guillotine or axe hanging over their heads with Sheor, and then with him not being able to kind of cope with the pain as well as the others are, which I feel like there must be some kind of reason for that. And then also the excitement comes in with maybe being able to figure out the magic in some way. So yeah, it was pretty good stuff, but also not the most uplifting chapters to read.
Well, you were just saying you needed some more stuff to go wrong for Raid, and I don't know that anything's like really going wrong. It's
right.
Just...
I mean, at least this cleans up a little bit of what happened previously. It's like he convinced Tan way too easily, but at least 70% of his people did not join Raoden, so at least that is, somewhat realistic, I guess.
Yeah, like I agree. These ones were just really bleak. I think Hrathen's chapters was like fascinating, just seeing like, oh, he's being a good dude to the Elantrian, and it's like actually just trying to understand things, get an idea, and then he's like, yeah, all right, okay, I'm done with you. You can go back into Elantris and hey, buy him some food, will you? Get him a burger. But yeah, I think we all knew this was coming with Dilaf just like going off the rails, and this is what happens when Hrathen allows him to improvise. He improvises way too much, and Hrathen's like, "Ah, shit, I've made a terrible mistake with this guy." So I feel like Hrathen's probably gonna have to try and do something to get rid of Dilaf without making it look like he's doing it, because that will undermine his decision making. But yeah, no, I don't know where this is gonna go. Like, I still feel like Dilaf could be our overall antagonist, or at least, before Viking Pope sends the forces or whatever. But yeah, this is gonna be going on for a while, because Hrathen will have to try and get rid of Dilaf without compromising his integrity, which is going to be a very hard line to walk. As for Raoden's chapters, it was cool seeing him, like seeing a bit of the conflict in him rather than just this happy-go-lucky prince that we've seen so often. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm giving purpose to everyone around me, but I actually don't have that, and I'm still doomed. And he's realizing that, he's coming to terms with it, and I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of heartbreaking, really. Like we see this guy, he's very good at making people like him. He does generally want to do the right thing, and he's like, I can help everyone except myself. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, but I feel like, yeah, we're just really building up to a confrontation with Shaor at this stage. The mad Elantrians, given they're starting to get more ballsy about attacking. So. But yeah, like, cool. Like, we're getting into the meat of things now, so it's nice to see everything building.
For some reason, you got me picturing like this zombie Elantrian just strolling back through the gates happily, munching on a hamburger, and it's a very strange picture.
It's the world's greatest meat-flavored sandwich.
Yeah, I think agreeing with the other guys, it's a bit bleak reading these chapters. But I really enjoyed the chapter with Hrathen and Dilaf. I think it's really interesting to sort of see how quickly my perception of Hrathen's changed from when we started reading the book. It's like, he's going to be the big bad, but he actually doesn't seem like a terrible, like, he's not great, but terrible person like I was expecting him to be, just this, unruly, unrelenting character. Dilaf still terrifies me, but I'm definitely interested to see where Hrathen's performance management skills come in. That's ordering some potion, possibly poison. I don't know. 2 weeks to go until it gets here. Anything could happen in the meantime. Right. But I actually found these chapters too. It's the first time that I've read them without stumbling on words. It's finally sinking in what all of these things are, or if I don't know what it is, I can sort of see what they're getting at. It's taken me half this book to time I found a word that I didn't recognize. So that, I think that was, to me, it was really good. I felt like reading it now, it felt a lot more seamless than it has previously. But I thought that first chapter was really good. And when he brought the Elantrian in, I was like, oh no, like, this is, you did what? That is insane. You are a monster. So I thought that was a really powerful moment there. The second chapter that we read, we got like a bit of information. I think that hint about the magic and finally looking at some of that is exciting, because it would be really nice to see how that all comes together, and also how the seance come together as well. It's interesting that the one that was drawn, or the character, the Aon that was drawn, was Ian for Raoden as well. So I'm kind of like, oh, maybe we get a bit of that and how that will come together as well. Maybe he can fix Ian. That would be nice with what he learns, but we'll see what happens. But the rest of his chapter, it's kind of just more like, no, this is how life looks at the moment. So, not great, but improving, and a bit sad that it's not good for Raoden, but we'll see what happens to him in the future. Again, good read, enjoyed it, and not every chapter can be a wow moment, but still some good information. So
not every chapter do you get an Elantrian burned, so well, hopefully not going, if we got one every chapter going forward, that would be bad.
I don't know that's not something I need in my life.
Oh man, it's interesting what you're saying about Hrathen, because we talked about before, I think, that it's just, he's a different sort of bad guy from ones that we've seen in the other books. Like, he's definitely not like a Strath Venture, which is maybe what some people were expecting at the beginning. But he's also not like, a Zane or something. So,
yeah,
or even a Set.
He's definitely not a good guy, but he's at least somewhat civil. Like he's made mistakes in the past. I mean, we don't know. I mean, obviously it didn't end well 6 months ago, but he seems to have learnt from that. And I think it's interesting because we are actually getting the perspective of one of our bad guys. We're getting that internal monologue and his thought process, which you wouldn't normally get. Like, you're normally following the protagonist. So to have what's going on in his head, I think gives us a bit more of a humanizing approach to looking at him. Because if we didn't know what his thought process was, I think our perception of him would be completely different. You would just see this bad guy coming in wanting to change everything, and then Dilaf stands up and you don't know that he's not on the same page, especially because he's not showing divide amongst the people or in front of the people, because that makes him weak. But he's clearly not approving of Dilaf. So I think, it would be interesting if you took out all his viewpoints to see what our perception would be very different.
That's a good point. Yeah, like you might look at him very differently if we weren't inside his head, seeing like the stuff he approves of and doesn't. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Just because you are a bad guy does not mean bad guy.
I know.
Thanks, Satan.
It's Satan, actually. Okay, I guess let's do these. Let's get into these chapters. So yeah, we start out with, sure enough, Hrathen has gotten himself an Elantrian and has called Dilaf to his office intentionally to like expose him to this Elantrian and see what happens.
Happy birthday! Oh God!
And I like that the most shocking thing is that, like, as he walks in, he yells out a curse, and Hrathen's like, "Wow, he's like so used to our language that he curses in it. That's different." He's like, "Say hello to Diran, Arteth." An Elantrian. Yes, very good, Arteth. And no, you may not set fire to him. See, he specifically says you may not set fire to him.
I told you earlier, but you set fire to him when I specifically asked you not to.
In hindsight, it's like, that's a very specific thing for him to forbid.
Right? And it didn't even work. It's the saddest thing. I mean, he doesn't try to burn him right there, so maybe that's a win. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, no, not in my office. Damn it. Just swept the floor.
They're going, I definitely did not burn him. That's on.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to get ash out of the floor?
And as like Hrathen and Dilaf are talking about him like he's a thing, it's like, are they all bald like this, Dilaf? Dilaf's like, not at first. They have hair and then they get sent through. When the Karathi dogs prepare them for the city. Wow, that's just mean, dude.
Those dogs.
Lucky, you can always tell the bad guy because he will refer to someone else as a dog.
Yeah, and it's not like, yo, dog, how's it hanging? It's like, those dogs.
He's clearly never had a Labrador.
I was about to say, I don't even know if they have dogs on this planet, but he said dogs, so it seems to imply that there's dogs around somewhere.
Sure.
Not in Elantris. They ate them by now.
Oh.
Sad, but
yeah, exactly. Like, they did it.
Yeah, it hurts because it's accurate.
Somebody's in there, like, shooting down pigeons for and living like a king in Elantris. I think he says that the skin is like that of an embalmed corpse. And Dilaf's like, yeah, the skin isn't the only sign. Their insides are rotten as well. Dilaf actually seems to know a lot. Like, he knows that their hearts don't beat. He knows that the Sheod takes them at night usually.
Well, I guess if he used to treat them as gods, he like maybe researched the like full destruction of them, like what's all happened to them.
Well, he also mentions there are stories from way back in the day when it first started happening. So this is back to this, like, oh, did you hear the rumors?
But yeah, he's talking about how there's stories from 10 years ago. He's in on the rumors. Within a few months, they turn comatose and can't do anything except bemoan their pain. He's like, wait, pain? Yeah, the pain of their souls being burned by Lord Jadeth's fire.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. And I do like when he touches it, he's like, no, you shouldn't touch him. He's like, I thought you said Lord Jadeth would protect the faithful. Why would I need to be afraid? Yeah, Dilaf. Come on, be consistent. Apparently, you can't have holy ground within a country that has not allied itself with Shu Dareth. That's randomly specific. And so he's like, yeah, I need you to make preparations for the sermon. I'm going to be busy. Now you can leave. And so he's like, I just want to ask you some questions. It's all good. And the guy's like, do you have any food? He's like, hey, look, if you answer my questions, I will send you back with a full basket of bread and cheese. He's like, oh my God, yes. And I like his theory. He's like, maybe it like does something to their metabolism that makes their hearts beat so fast you can't detect it and makes them hungrier.
The heart is just like a hummingbird's wings. It's just a blur inside their chest. Go,
right? But he's trying to science this real hard. He's like, when were you thrown in? I don't know, 7 months, 8 months? It's hard to keep track. Which, yeah, it probably would be.
Well, see, this is the interesting thing. He says he was thrown in during the fall. And I'm like, during the fall of Elantris?
No, I assume he means the season.
Oh, right. Okay, that makes more sense. I keep forgetting. There's a change. Yeah, that's a different word over there. Because, yeah, I assumed, like, I had the thought, it was like, the fall of Elantris, and he reckons it's only 7 to 8 months? Shit, they just lose track of time. Maybe that's why Galadon's like, no one lasts that long. Because, like, they actually don't realize how long they've been in there.
I've been there 10 years, and I didn't know it? Jeez.
Yeah.
That would be impressive.
No, if it was just a season, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Cool. I was overthinking that one.
But he's like, so what is Elantris like? He's like, oh, it's so terrible, my lord. There's gangs, and they chase you if you go to the wrong place. No one tells the newcomers the rules, so if you aren't careful, you just walk into the market. But now there's a new gang, a fourth gang, more powerful than the others. See, that's what a few Elantrians on the street are saying. So it's just like Galadon. He walks the streets, he hears stuff. But Hrathen's immediate thought is like, yeah, we shouldn't like show Elantrians to people because this guy's just sad. Like, if people would not, it would be hard to make people hate Elantrians if they get close to one and realize how just pathetic this is. But the guy can't tell him anything about, like, what the Sheod was like or anything like that. And he claims to be dead, whatever that means. And he's even like, yeah, see, my wounds no longer heal. Look at this cut. And Hrathen's like, oh, that must just be, like, a cut that didn't heal properly. This guy didn't know what he's talking about. Like, he knows that there's magic involved in Elantris, and even though this guy can't tell him anything about it, and that this transformation thing is somehow magical, but he's really not willing to accept, like, yeah, you're dead and your cuts don't heal. Sure.
Transformation project. It's like,
I don't know. I was going to try to say process. It didn't.
Okay. It's just like, there's a dude sitting in a building. So it's like, okay, now if I mutate this part of the chromosome, then they won't have they'll actually keep pumping their blood. Oh, that didn't work. Shit. Okay. Let's try something else.
Yeah. Sounds like you're talking about Rashek.
Yeah, kind of. Maybe Rashek's here too.
I fucked it.
Just screwing up left and right.
Elantris was his rough draft.
But he calls the guard captain back and gives him a bag of money and he's like, make sure you purchase some food for this guy on the way back. I promised him. Okay.
Huh, I completely misread that. I thought he gave the Elantrian some money. And I was like, dude.
Yeah, here's some way to buy food when you get back.
Yeah, they got shops in Elantris, right? Buy yourself a nice piece of bread.
You mentioned a market, didn't you? I'm just picturing the Elantrian like in broad daylight in K, just walking up to like a market store, just going, I'll have a stein of mead, thank you. and the entire market's like, what the fuck is this doing here?
They're screaming and running, and it would be bad.
It's like
Opportunity though, because the Elantrians are so hungry. If they actually put them back into society and gave them money, they would spend so big in the food stores. It would boom.
It's true. I don't know. Maybe they would just eat a normal amount if they weren't like hungry from not having eaten anything for days and weeks and months. Like maybe once they like got back on a schedule, it wouldn't be unusual. I don't know.
That time Namor the Submariner like was wandering around New York and they thought he was coming to attack, so they rolled the army out to attack him. He's like, I'm just here for a bagel, guys. He's like, I can't surrender. I'm not attacking. I just want a bagel.
I'm just here to hit on Sue. Can you get off my back already?
Yeah, man. I just really wanted to schmear. Why can't you let me get my bagel and schmear on, man?
But then Hrathen kind of outlines Dilaf more of his plan, where it's like basically we make everyone hate the Elantrians and associate Shu Korath with the Elantrians, and then at that point they either agree with us, which just makes everyone think that like they're with us basically, or they side against us, and after that, let's see, what does it say? Sorry. If they choose the former, the people will turn against them. So, Or if they choose the latter, it puts them under our theological control. So either they accept our incrimination against them, which will turn the people against them, or they side with us against the Elantrians, and then that puts them under our theological quote-unquote control, because we came up with the religious stance and they followed along. After that, a few simple embarrassments will make them appear impotent and irrelevant. And Dilaf's like, it's perfect. Once again, I see him doing like a Mr. Burns, like, excellent. It's like, but will it happen?
Master.
But will it happen quickly enough? There's so little time. And he's like, wait a second. How does this guy know about my deadline? Maybe he's just guessing. And so then he's like, okay, let's do the sermon thing. And so Dilaf gets up and speaks with his characteristic zeal. And, he's just up there screaming, jumping around, being crazy, and everyone's kind of going for it because apparently that's his style. And Hrathen's sitting here thinking, like, no, I'm not even jealous anymore. He works for me, so I'm in charge of all this raw talent that he has. So really, it just reflects more well on me. And that's when Dilaf jumps up and he's like, and now behold. And we've got an Elantrian. The same Elantrian tied to a post, and a pair of torches pop up. And apparently, like, not only did Dilaf go and get this guy and bring him back to burn him, but he beat the crap out of him a little bit first because he's got cuts on his face. That's just mean. Be an asshole.
Because it's Dilaf, that's kind of his bag.
Yeah, that's fair. And he uses the fact that they don't bleed to be like, look, they're not even human. We have nothing in common with them. They don't even have blood. And they're going to burn him. And the dude is just up there like, please kill me, please. He's gone into the, what does Galadon call them? He's one of the Hoed, whatever. But Hrathen feels like if he lets them just execute this dude in the middle and burn him, then we're going to lose control of this crowd and things could go south real fast from there. And even if they don't, like, Iadon is not going to stand for public executions. So he jumps up and he's like Dilaf's just like, we have to cleanse all of them with holy fire. And Hrathen's like, and so they will be. Yoink. Let's take control of this situation. But what good will it do? It's like, what good would killing this creature do? It's already tormented by Lord Jadeth himself. It's pleading for death. Is that what we want to do? Do we want to give it what it wants? And it's like, he waits tensely while some in the crowd scream yes, out of habit, and others get confused. Do we want to give the demons what they want? Yes!
Yes! I mean, I'm smart. No. Maybe?
Yeah. You want to be the captain of this ship? Yes. Well, you can't.
You can't. Yeah.
And so he tries turning around once again. He's like, the real monster here is the Karathi priests. They're giving all these demons the super nice city to live in while you guys are stuck living out here. Who came up with that plan?
Well,
it's not that
wait
nice.
to see where that goes.
Right. It's covered in goop. You don't want it in there. And so yeah, he turns the whole sermon once again against Shu Korath and is like, tell your friends to shun the Karathi heresies. And he ends it, makes the other Artes put out their torches. And after everything has calmed down, he's like, okay, Dilaf, we need to talk. Collect this creature and meet me in the garden. The guard captain, Zap Brannigan, is there, and he's like, my lord. I can't do Zap Brannigan, so I'm not going to do it. But
my lord, the young priest caught me before I got back to the city. He said you wanted the creature back. Did I do wrong?
So yeah, that's not very Zap Brannigan. He's not like, oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Did I do something wrong?
No, Zap Brannigan.
He's like
you paid me to take this creature back to the city, and your apprentice paid me to bring him back here, so I'm keeping both of your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Baby, it'll blow your mind. I don't know why that one's so annoying to me.
But yeah, so they go and burn the Elantrian in the garden. And he says the Elantrian seemed to welcome the flames. I forget if Dilaf soaked him in oil earlier, but it says he's now soaked in oil. So I guess, just to make sure he burns up good. My wife is behind me and she's like, well, not good. She was
he burns up well good.
Yeah, he burns up well good. Exactly.
Oil from the well burned him good.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Don't think too hard.
And he's like, Hrathen's like, dude, why you make me do this? Like, you don't just decide to execute someone. And Dilaf's like, well, what? We're going to have to kill them all eventually. So why not? He's like, look, a riot is what almost happened out there, and a riot needs to be carefully planned and executed. Otherwise, it is as likely to turn against its creators as their enemies, which is a really salient point here. Like, once people get going, start burning and killing, you never know where it's going to end up.
It's like, the riot starts here. We're the closest building. What do you think's going to get looted first?
Yeah, bloodlust is not good.
And so, yeah, they argue back and forth for a while, but what it comes down to is, I mean, Dilaf can't really debate that Hrathen is his boss, so it's kind of like, look, I am the one who decides when they get an outlet for their hate. I'm in charge here. And he also calls him out on some BS that he's trying to put out here, where he's like, look, first you said the Elantrian's killing was fated by Jadeath, and that you were simply like following Jadeath's fate by forcing my hand, and then you're saying this other that if stuff went wrong, it's like my fault. So which one is it? Is like Jadeath is everything like Jadeath's fault, or is it mine? How come I have to be accountable for everything, but you get to be an innocent servant who didn't do anything wrong? Which, on the one hand, yeah, that's a good point. But on the other hand, like, you're the boss, so you kind of are where the buck stops here. He works for you. So when he screws up, it kind of is on you a little bit.
Welcome to people management, Raven.
Right?
Really regretting hiring this guy.
Yeah. And I agree with Dak. I feel like this is coming to a point where it's like he's going to have to try to get rid of this guy in some way. The interesting question is how. How do you do that?
I still hold out the hope that the problem will solve itself if Hrathen and Dilaf will wake up as an Elantrian.
That would solve the problem, yeah.
Because, like, while that would be hilarious to see Dilaf get his ultimate comeuppance of become the thing he hates so much, it'd also be Hrathen just going, okay, how do I deal with this now? How do I incorporate this into what I'm talking about?
That would make it tougher, yeah, if, like, one of your wholly chosen people gets taken by the Sheod or whatever. It's like, so why is he being punished by Lord Jadeath? How are you going to explain that one? Because I didn't like him, that's why.
God, yeah, like, he got tempted by the demons because... I don't know. I was trying to come up with something there, and it just no.
But he says the man's willful acceptance of immolation brought back memories that he tried to banish, images of pain and sacrifice and of death, memories of decor. So we get a tease of what goes on at these monasteries again, or this one in particular, the one that even the king of Teod doesn't know what happens there. And then we cut to Hrathen's other chore that he needs to complete tonight, which I really love. He's calling this guy on his Seon phone, Forton, or Forton, whatever his name is. And this guy's just fun. And we get all this information from Hrathen about how, like, the people here, they're part of the whole feudal Shu-Dereth empire thing. So they have to publicly follow Shu-Dereth, but there's also, like, all this behind the scenes where they're all into, like, the Jesker mysteries and stuff. And so this guy's, like, completely unabashed at, like, whichever religion he needs to profess at that moment. He's perfectly happy to.
And it's also, it just reveals another side to Hrathen. He's like, look, honestly, I don't actually care who you worship. I just need you to understand that you worship, like, you publicly worship Shu-Dereth.
Right? Yeah. Well, and he feels a little bit, he's like, using a guy like this, who I know is not really, makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but if we can use Seons, then why can't I use this guy, basically?
Yeah.
It's all for the greater good of Jadeath.
I should do something about you, but you're kind of useful as well.
Yep.
To even point, if you become a problem, I'll deal with you.
Well, and apparently he saved his life at one point. It says that, like, his potions saved him from a poisoning that would have killed him. So that's definitely a useful guy to keep around, I guess. I guess he's from, like, out in the country, and there's just all these peasants and not much else out there. Like, it's a sparsely populated countryside, it says, which is difficult to supervise. And also Forton does drugs. He's like, Forton was often drugged. He was very accomplished at mixing potions, poisons, and elixirs, though.
For some reason, of all the possible drug-addicted genius characters from the movies that you could picture, my mind went to Michael Caine in Children of Men.
Never seen it.
This guy, to me, I mean, this is an inside joke, but this is Jedi poet to me. He's always high. But he's always willing to help you out, too. He's like, yeah, man, I'll hook you up. Yeah, no worries.
I mean, Lewis is no poet. He was on the Christmas special last year.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
Now I imagine any discussion with Forton, he's just like, man, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yep.
Yeah, so he tells him what he wants these potions to do, but we don't get to find out. And Fortin's just like, oh yeah, no problem. I got you. In fact, I already have like 2 formulas. All I'll have to do is combine them, and it's easy. And I do like that Hrathen's like, I'll pay you your standard price. And he's like, oh no, my payment is the knowledge that I serve Lord Jadeath.
Oh boy.
But we find out a little more about the Jesker mysteries, where Hrathen calls it a distasteful form of worship, a syncretic combination of a dozen different faiths with some aberrations, such as ritual sacrifice and fertility rites, added in to make it more alluring. It's like, how do we make our religion cool and people want to get in on it? I know, fertility rites and ritual sacrifices, that'll do it.
Sex and murder, guys. Sex and murder.
Does the trick every time. And so he's like, I need it immediately, but I'm in Erelon. And Fortin's like, oh, dude, you could not have chosen a further away place to be. But he also is like, oh, good, you finally decided to convert those heathens up in Erelon. And so, yeah, it's going to take a couple weeks to get it. And I also like that it ends with, feel free to pray to me anytime that you need to. And he's like, oh, I forgot about that. This guy's so nuts that he doesn't realize I have a Seon. He just thinks that I can pray to Jadeath and Jadeath will put me through to his Seon.
Let me use my God telephone real quick. Hey, Jadeath, hook me up with Forton.
What's up? This is Jadeath. How can I connect your call?
You know, he's stuck under a rock. There's not a lot else he can do.
Right? Yeah. Be useful, man. Help a brother out. And yeah, here's the part at the end of the conversation where he's like, so Forton was a drug addict, a heretic, and a hypocrite, but he was still an invaluable resource.
I just love that. It's like, I don't care if you're going to hell, you're still useful to me. Maybe since Jadeath is under a rock, that means the hell is actually where heaven would be, up in the sky. It's further away from Jadeath.
Well, they said that the demons or the Skavis, whatever they called them, were like the spirits of men who died hating Jadeath or something like that. I forget. So maybe that's what happens to you if you're a heretic.
Oh, that reminds me, like, Jamie said ages ago, and she never said it on an episode, like, how she pictured Viking Pope was the robot devil.
What devil? Yeah.
I like that.
Because
but like with a big Pope hat.
So he's like Space Pope and the Robot Devil.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I like this a lot. Now we're new shirt, Viking Pope.
Just a Pope hat with horns.
Yeah. But he's like, after all, Jadeath had created all men, even the heretics. So obviously Jadeath won't mind if we use those guys. And then we get to Hrathen's chapter. I'm sorry, not Hrathen. Raoden's chapter, which Brandon says in the annotations for this chapter, yes, okay, I'll admit it. I started this chapter with a dream sequence. So he's like, I'm sorry about this, guys.
It was a little jarring at first, and I was like, oh, it must be like he's remembering the past, but I didn't realize it was a dream until he woke up.
Oh my gosh, that's great, because the next sentence is, however, if you didn't realize that it was a dream before you got to the end, then you obviously haven't been paying much attention to the rest of the book.
Well, that's rude. I just thought maybe he was thinking of the past.
I thought it was a flash.
I mean, I understood that it wasn't the present day, but I didn't know that it was necessarily a dream. That seems a little harsh.
Yeah, I guess the part where you're supposed to definitely pick up on that it's a dream is when things go horribly wrong. And it's like, wait, this isn't what happened.
I mean, I
Brandon
guess.
practically burned you.
Yeah, I know, right? I was about to read that sentence, and then Joe had said his thing, and I was like, oh, this couldn't be more.
You know what? I'm quitting the podcast. I'm done.
Brandon personally insulted me 10 years ago when he wrote this. No, this is written in 2005, so 15 years ago. 16
years ago. You know what? I may have been 16 in 2005, but you're a dick now.
Oh my gosh. So yes, we start out with a dream sequence flashback of Raoden's parents taking him in. And really, when you first read it, they took him in to have his broken leg or whatever fixed, I didn't imagine it as such a big deal as it actually turns out that it was. Where it's basically he's going to have his leg amputated because no one can do anything. He broke it in 15 places or something ridiculous. Which just makes his dad even more of an asshole for not wanting to go to Elantris. It's like, I'd rather have my kid's leg chopped off than bring him in here.
Yeah. He's like,
I'll buy
I
him a
guess
new
we'll
leg.
take him in. Yeah, we'll buy him a prosthetic.
And secretly, the doctors feared it was too late already, even for amputation. So the infection may have already spread to his torso. He doesn't understand all this at the time, but it's not good.
What did he actually do to break his leg like this?
I think it just says he fell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it said
Fell
he
from-
fell from a high place. So he saw a brother and sister having incestuous sex in a tower, and then he fell, and then he was pushed off the tower. Oh wait.
That's a different thing.
Become the one-eyed raven. Three-eyed raven?
No,
One-eyed raven.
Three-eyed.
Please don't. Don't become any kind of Raven, Raoden. It's fine.
Raven Raoden.
Oh yeah, no, it's alliterative. Maybe I might be forced to be on the side of Raven Raoden now. Swap sides real fast. But yeah, so it says a woman approached, her white hair long and full, her silvery face smiling encouragingly. She moves her hands through the air, and then it was as if a river of light was trying to force its way through the small crack. The boy could feel the power, sense it raging to be free, but only this little was allowed to escape. And so she traces Ian, which is healing, but not just that Aeon. The core of the Aeon she adds to with dozens of lines and curves at the sides. One final mark, it glows intensely, and then he can feel himself healing. And the wound's like gone instantly. So that's pretty awesome. That's some cool magic there. But yeah, then the last couple of paragraphs is where it's like, oh no, something has gone horribly wrong. I can still feel the pain. And that's when he wakes up. It says the pain was growing so strong it even corrupted his dreams. He's only been in Elantris 3 weeks at this point. So 3 weeks since the beginning of our story. That's a decent amount of time has passed. And so he has to kind of push the pain back from, it says he's gotten dozens of tiny wounds and bruises at this point, which he has been running around doing a bunch of crazy shit. So maybe if you'd been more calm, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, that underwater, like bumping around against rocks, that could have been real bad.
Right? But interestingly, it also says everyone says the pain is supposed to be steady, but for him it comes in like waves. So either everyone else is describing it not exactly right, or he's different somehow, I guess. I don't know. Like he points out, he's like, why do we need to sleep? Like, no, we don't need to do anything else that like alive people do. Why this? Which is a good question, I guess.
Your mind thinks you need it.
Raoden's mother has been dead 12 years. So she was dead 2 years before the disaster, the Riad that destroyed Elantris or whatever. So I guess the theory that she got sent into Elantris may not be correct. We know she's not Karada, so maybe we already had moved away from that anyway.
Yeah, I think we kind of had. It's like once it's like, oh, it's not Karada. Well, probably not. She's not here then.
Mm. And so he's Seolin, his soldier buddy, is like has put together a group of men to form a guard squad basically, and they walk around following Raoden to keep him safe. And he's like, look, I understand, I appreciate your attention, but do we really need all of this? And Seolin's like, well, a lord requires an honor guard. It wouldn't be proper for you to go about alone. He's like, I'm not a lord. We don't have nobility in Elantris. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever you say, man. Galadon has finished the plowing and is organizing planting teams, so we're like full go on the planting corn thing. In reality, corn takes in our world rather, corn takes like 90 days to grow. So I don't know that we can possibly get full grown corn before the book ends, since 90 days was where Hrathen started with his time limit.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean the book has to end there. It just means that that's when Hrathen's time is up, and we might see what happens after that.
That's true. That's a good point.
Maybe it'll be the epilogue. The end. It'll be
Finally, the corn is here.
And then all of a sudden, it's Raoden sitting in his cornfield.
He's just like, yes, grow my corn. Galadon's long gone for some reason, just Raoden alone in the corn. If you build it, they will come. Is that a cornfield? I don't know. I've never actually seen that movie, so.
I don't remember if it's corn.
Wait, which movie?
Field of Dreams.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw it either.
But I do like that he's watching Galadon work, and he's like, man, there's like a peaceful thing about him. Like, some people are farmers because they don't have a choice. This guy seems to really like it. So that's nice for Galadon. we also get the note that it's like Galadon seems way more in control now too. Like our whole thing is working for him also. There were a few times during the early days that Raoden had been a little bit scared of Galadon because of how close he was to, this Elantrian, I can't think of the right word. Ferocity. Maybe that's the right word. But now he's like chill. And here's where we get the introspective thing where he's like, yeah, it's working for everybody but me, basically. Because I have this pain all the time. I can barely keep going. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. That's where Salen yells, watch out. And some guys, crazy guys, jumping him with a rusty iron bar, swinging at his face. So really, Salen was right. And it turns out that it's a good idea to have some guards with you. So Sheor's men are attacking. And the fight goes well for their side. But apparently it's been happening more often now. I guess they found out about this garden or this nice area, and they're coming after him.
They want the corn. Protect the corn.
I'm sure they do. And that's what Galadon says.
Yeah.
Is like, they must have heard we had corn in here. And Raoden's like, this can't continue. We have to stop it. And Galadon's like, well, I don't see how you're going to do that. Not even Sheor can really control these guys. They're nuts. And Raoden's like, look, no. We've done this. We've come this far. We can totally do this. And Galadon's like, look, Hrathen and AonDor, they were possibilities, if distant ones. This is another story. These guys are like not even human anymore. They cannot be reasoned with.
Galadon, when are you gonna stop being such a naysayer, man? It's just like I really want Raoden to be just like, you shit on everything I say. Come on, give me some credit here.
I think Raoden needs somebody to hold back his enthusiasm a little bit.
Yeah, probably so, but still.
But yeah, Galadon is so pessimistic that it's hilarious, especially since that's apparently not something duelists are known for. They're known for being all relaxed and positive, and Galadon is not. It's like, were you out there at your like orchard doing this? Like, you stupid trees, you're probably not gonna grow anything. I'm gonna go broke and starve to death.
Like Joe's got a point. Like Raoden could just say to him, it's like, you have told me many things are impossible, and I've still done them. So shut up.
It's true. But here's the bit where one of these guys they've taken out used to be one of one of his followers. So apparently Sheor's group was already kind of the biggest one. And now a lot of the one, like Hrathen's, I guess, was the smallest or something. And a lot of Andons have now gone over to Sheor also. So that's bad.
They're so pissed that they've stolen the moustache of leadership and given it to Sheor.
Right? We're going to run into him. He's going to be wearing a mustache.
All hail the moustache of leadership. The leader stash.
But they put these guys with the rest of them. Apparently Raoden has gone out and started grabbing all the fallen Elantrians, the Hode, I just don't know how you would say that, off the street and putting them somewhere, like inside a building together. And he has his people go through and try to talk with them and spend time with them. And it seems to maybe actually be improving things a little bit. It says once there'd been this had been a place of fearful screams, and now it was a subdued realm of quiet mumblings and despair. So I guess that's an improvement. And we get to hear some of their repeated murmurings again. Beautiful, once so beautiful. Life, 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 life. Oh, Domi, where are you? When will it end? And Salen's taken a wound during the fight. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And Salen's like, no. Being an Elantrian just makes me more proud to wear this wound. I got it protecting our people. This isn't going to turn me into one of them. I have a purpose. And so the pain will just remind me of the honor that I earned it with. Hopefully.
I mean, props for the positive attitude.
Right? Yeah, whether or not it's going to be bad in the long term, probably better to have the positive attitude about it. That's kind of Raoden's whole thing.
'Tis but a scratch.
Salen's going to lose a leg. He's like, no, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm fine.
So, Hrathen has been overseeing the relocation of her people to the chapel. And she's upset that she wasn't here when everything went down. He's like, you can't be here all the time. So, meanwhile, Tan is completely uninterested in leading his helping lead at all, basically. He's just sitting on the ground looking at all the sculptures. Says he's found at least a dozen new techniques and does not seem to give a crap about anything else. That's probably for the best. Dude was crazy, so let him be happy with his sculpture.
It's kind of funny how like he blocks out everything so he can stare at these sculptures. He's so enamored with them. I'm like, you didn't think to do that at all until Raoden just pointed out, hey, look at the wall.
Well, most of it was really slime covered, apparently. Even in the reliefs in the chapel, they didn't even know were there until they cleaned them, so it might be hard to notice.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it says that Tan says that about 30% of his people have come to Raoden's band, which means 70% went over to Sheor probably. Karada's had always been the smallest. Tan's was, I guess, the second largest. So the largest gang has now combined with more than half of the second largest gang. That's bad for our friends, pretty much. And they're pissed off because we've now broken the agreement where like they get 1/3 of the new people because they get whoever turns that way. Because Raoden has his crew bringing everybody straight in. So he's gonna go and research more about AonDor now after the excitement of the morning, and we find out some more about this book that he's been working on translating. It's apparently extremely advanced. It's a book about strange cases or interesting events surrounding AonDor. So this is like one of those books. This is like the House MD book where it's like you have all the normal disease and that's the regular medical text. And this is the book about the weird shit that happens that is hard to explain. So not the best for learning the basics, basically. And he says usually this book tells about when stuff went wrong. And so he has to backtrace from this is what made it go wrong to this is how it should work normally. But we do find out that in this magic system, aeons are just the starting point, the basic figures. And just like the one in his dream, advanced AonDor starts with that aeon, and then you use dots and lines around it as like stipulations to be more specific about what it's doing. So basically, the healing, the aeon Ian, you draw that, but then you add some lines to say, I want you to heal the lower leg of this infection or something. So you're drawing extra lines and dots for all the specifics instead of just a general, hey, heal.
This line means leg. This squiggle means lower. This one means painlessly. That's a very important one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you gotta wonder how they figure all this shit out, right? Somebody must have discovered it for the first time. It's like, I'm going to draw the healing one, and I'm going to draw a line here and see what that does. Oh, that made his head explode. Okay, that's a bad one. Let's not do that.
Whoops. This one made his leg twice as long as the other, and now he's lopsided.
But apparently the masters of AonDor are the ones who can draw the aeon and then quickly add a bunch of different modifications to the central one. The book assumes you already have a comprehensive knowledge of AonDor and passes over most of the basic principles. I think this is a weird book because we find out this guy's library is mostly about like geography, and then dude has the one book about like weird stuff that happens with AonDor.
Yeah.
But we do get this little note where it's like, I wish I could they would just explain what channeling the door means. Galen's like, wait, door? That sounds like a Duladel term. That doesn't sound like an aeon. It's only got one vowel in it. And Raoden's like, well, yeah, I guess the character in here isn't an aeon that's used to represent door. It's like a phonetic representation, as if the word had been transliterated from a different language. And I don't know if you guys remember, there's one other time we've heard the word door used, or the term door. And that was in their conversation last time where Raoden was saying that the Jesker mysteries, like he was saying that they were the two were the same, basically, Jesker and the Jesker mysteries. And Galen's like, what? No, they're not. Only like idiots with no true understanding of the door would think that. And so, yeah. And it comes up here again. It's like, Galen's like, well, if that's the same word, then it refers to something in Jesker. And Raoden's like, what do the mysteries have to do with this? And he's like, I have fucking told you, do not say that these two are the same thing. Don't mess with my religion.
I will take my corn and go home.
It's already planted. It would be tough to take it and go out.
Yeah. Also, it's not his corn. It's everybody's corn, Galadin.
Yeah. So door is the unseen. Door is the force. Basically, it sounds like. It's in everything, but cannot be touched. It affects nothing, yet controls everything.
Yeah, it's midichlorians.
It's the Force.
I mean, the way he described it kind of sounds just like instinct.
Well, it sounds really weird to me. It's like, why do rivers flow? And and Raoden's like, well, here's why rivers flow.
Gravity.
Like, right. So now, what makes the water want to flow?
It's like,
Raoden's like, I didn't think that water needed to want. And he's like, it does. And door is what makes it wants to. That's the answer.
I mean, I guess like you could argue that its molecular structure makes it want to flow, but I don't know.
No, it's the door.
There might be a concept beyond them at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So he's like, did you know if you take a bird away from its mother, it'll learn to fly? Where does it learn to fly, huh? The door.
Okay. It's like, how does the lightsaber know when to stop? The Force? Man, that's your answer for everything.
It reminds me of the Avatar: The Last Airbender, where he's like, can your science explain why it rains? Yes! Yes, it can!
Yes, it can.
Osaka.
It's one of the best lines.
It really is. It's Raoden is just like, okay, that sounds kind of like religion, mystical, whatever, but it does make me think of like when this Elantrian was drawing her healing Aeon, it seemed like something was trying to like tear through this thing. So like there was a power raging back there that was trying to force its way through. So, the Aeon maybe funneled that power into a usable form and healed the leg instead of destroying him.
Yeah, good thing it didn't destroy him.
Right? Yeah, that would have been bad. He's like, and so Raoden feels like he's figured something out here. He's like, that's it. That's why we're alive. Is like we don't eat, we don't get energy from like eating and our hearts beating and stuff anymore. The door must be feeding us energy to keep us alive. It's like, well, why doesn't it give us enough to keep our hearts going and shit? Because it's just barely enough. AonDor no longer works. The power has been reduced to just a trickle, but it's not gone. We can still draw Aeons. They just don't do anything. So we got to find a way to restore full power. He's like, oh, is that it? You just need to fix what was broken. Weren't we already doing that? Isn't that what we've been doing? And he's like, no, but see, now we figured out there's a link between us and the door. So, but there must also be a link between the land and the door, because AonDor is here. And the texts actually say the further you get from Elantris, the weaker it gets. So that's interesting information.
Yeah. Also that the only people taken by the Shead like have Aeroline blood in them, I guess.
Yep. It says TOs can be taken sometimes, but only if they're living in Erelon at the time. And he's like, oh, and sometimes it takes a doula. Which Callan's like, oh, I hadn't noticed. Thanks for letting me. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fjordals don't get taken. Apparently, doulas are half Aeonic and half Jindo. So
this is an early prediction, but you know what I want to have happen? I want Dilaf to be taken.
Dak has been saying that for 2 episodes.
I guess that's true, but
he's like, here's my prediction. What Dak said.
I'm just saying I want it to happen. I'm not saying I think it will happen.
I said it first. That's Joe's claim.
No.
I'm putting words in his mouth.
Yeah, quit putting words in my mouth.
I said it and only I.
If you keep putting words in my mouth, I'm going to put a fist in yours.
Good luck. You're far away.
Yeah, I was about to say my fist would have to reach 2 blocks. I'm no Mr. Fantastic.
You're just like, hey, don't make me come over there.
Yeah, exactly. Let me drive over there.
Joe disappears from the call for half an hour, and like all of a sudden you just hear a knocking on Data's door, and like, hey, what?
You hear like a scuffle. Yeah, you hear a scuffle. Like, come here, you little.
But yes, we end with Galadon being like, I mean, you hypothesize all you want. I don't see how it does any empirical good. And Raoden's like, okay, well, I'll stop theorizing as soon as you tell me where a simple farmer will learn the word empirical. And Galadon just chuckles as he walks away. And that's the end of the chapter.
Also, what's up with Galadon calling out our predicaments like that?
Right?
Yeah, way to go.
So there is one of the things that I was going to touch on in the annotations I've actually already said, where he points out, here's the other time the door was mentioned. But then he says, there are a lot of clues sprinkled through these chapters. If you're really clever, you could probably figure out from this chapter what is wrong with AonDor, and from there extrapolate why the Shead went bad. So,
wait,
you know.
What?
Maybe upon reread when you actually understand what the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he gets into it in the first place in here because he's talking about the language stuff, and I kind of skipped over. He's like, you probably could have figured out that door, the word was not an Aeon because of what Galadon says. The Aeons all have 2 vowels in them.
Right.
And that it sounds more like a Duladel word than like an Aeonic word or even a Fjordal word. And so he's like, if you're interested in all this linguistic stuff, head over to this section of my website. But we don't need to get too deep into the linguistics.
No, I'm not that much of a nerd.
But yeah, that leads him into when he's like, you could probably figure it out if you were super clever, which is just him being like, ha ha ha.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so Let us move into predicaments. Based on what we've got now, what do you guys think is going to happen?
So I'm going to stick with something I mentioned earlier in the show as far as Hrathen. I think this potion, maybe he's getting a dose for Dilaf and a dose for Sereni. Those seem to be the two people he's having the most problems with at this time. Of course, we don't know what it does, so maybe I'm way off base there. But that's my prediction for what this potion thing is for.
So if he was going to do something to those two, what do you think? Like, do you have any thoughts about like maybe what it would be? What would he want to do to them?
I don't know, maybe like knockout potion, or like maybe some kind of potion that he could manipulate them with. Like, he slips it in and then they have to follow his orders, or maybe it's like a truth telling potion, or something that he can work into his advantage in that way.
When you said knockout potion, I was just like, so he wants to roofie Dilaf? That's weird.
Yeah, he just roofies him, and then he's out of commission. It's like an indefinite knockout. It's like a Sleeping Beauty knockout. It's like somebody has to kiss him. Like he has to have true love's kiss to like wake up.
No one wants to kiss Dilaf.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe maybe he'll get an Elantrian to kiss him just to piss Dilaf off. It's like, you just got kissed by an Elantrian. How do you feel now? Oh no.
See Dilaf just like run off and jump off the end of the pier, just going unclean.
Yeah, exactly. He like burns his lips off. He like gets lye on him or something, and just chemically burns them. So we got that, and then with Raoden, yeah, I'm kind of distressed for him, because I feel like the pain thing's not a coincidence. Like something's going on behind the scenes here, mentally, emotionally, where he's still feeling all this pain. And there was just like a lot of sad bits in this chapter with like his former seance just like hanging out in the room with all the Hoed. It's just like, ugh, this is just rough stuff. So I'm thinking, I'm hoping that things with the magic of the rune magic, or whatever we're calling this, I hope they pick up here pretty quickly. And he kind of figures some stuff out, because I think we need to see some kind of he's got all these plans that maybe look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for these people in Elantris, but I feel like we need something a little bit more substantial as far as a way to defend themselves. Because it's like, if his best fighter got injured in a 5-man assault, how long can they really last, especially against a much larger force, if they get organized enough to attack? So yeah, hopefully the magic stuff will come soon.
You think they're going to use the magic against Sheor's men? They'll figure
I
something
mean,
out?
not necessarily. They'll use the magic in some productive way. Maybe it can satiate their hunger or something. Create food so that there's no reason to fight. Something.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
So I think I actually do have sort of a theory about where the magic went from these chapters.
Okay.
So both in Raoden's chapter, it mentioned a couple of times, when he got his leg healed, he felt that there was a whole lot of power that was straining and raging, trying to get out, but the Elantrians were only letting a little bit of it out to heal his leg. And so presumably anytime they use the magic, it's the same thing. There's a whole heap of it trying to get out, but they're keeping it sealed up back there. So my idea then is, at some point, someone basically, if you imagine that the magic is all just hidden behind a door, and they only ever open up a tiny little crack, just like a little bit of light in. And then at some point, someone just wrenched the door open, and all the light came spilling out. All the magic came out. Everything went to hell. And then they left the door open. So whatever's going on where this magic is coming from, it's like they had a reserve there, so there was always enough to draw on. It's like a bank account. You got heaps and heaps and heaps in there, but if you spend it all at once, then you need to really try and struggle to build it all back up again. So by leaving the door open, the magic is just constantly spilling out into the world, and they haven't been able to. This is why he says, "Oh, the runes don't do anything. We're not Elantrians as they're meant to be. We're this on the way there sort of thing." So what they need to do is basically try and find the door and close it back up and give the power enough time to recharge and replenish, and then they can try and go back to using it sparingly, and then they can actually use it for what they're meant to do because they'll have control over it rather than it just like flooding out and just spilling everywhere. So I think that's what the end game has to be for Raoden to try and find the magic again. And I think once they finally do get the magic sorted out, the first thing he'll do with it as sort of a tester is see if he can give Ian his mind back, because they keep coming back to Ian. Like, you know, the rune that was used on his leg was healing for Ian, and Ian is still hanging around the other Elantrians who have lost their mind. So I feel like he's still got to come into play somehow. There's some reason he's still here, and I feel like that'll be once Raoden knows he's finally got this right, it'll be by giving Ian back his mind. So I think that's where we're headed.
That is a cool idea because it gives us something to try to, because basically if there's a door open somewhere and magic is leaking out constantly and you got to close it, then we would need to be on the lookout for something happening that seems like some weird magical effect to give us an idea about where that door is, right? So it gives us something to be on the lookout for if that's what's happening. I like that.
Yeah. And it gives them a goal, because I think overall Raoden's goal would be to, make it so Elantrians don't have to worry about this sort of thing, whether you can channel the magic to do that or just channel the magic to make them back into what they were before they became Elantrians. Maybe that's the end game. Maybe he can use maybe he can take the power out of them. They turn back into regular people, and then that's a little bit more magic back in the box. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure regular people, everyone would like to be original Elantrians if possible, but I would guess they'd all take regular people over what they are now. So
yeah. So
interesting. Okay.
I think that's what happened with the magic.
All right. We this. I think this is our first articulated theory about what actually might have happened. So I like it. I like where we're going.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of like what we know about preservation and ruin, how their powers, they were finite to an extent. Like they had godly powers they were able to do so much, but they were still finite. We had to wait for the power to return to the well. Mm-hmm. So it sort of makes sense that, like, if the power is dispersed out everywhere, you've got to sort of try and pull it back up, like, with Ruin in his body.
Sure.
And everything. So it sort of fits with that whole shardic influence. So I mean, we all sort of assumed that the power in Elantris has something to do with the shard. So it makes sense that this could be how it's fallen out and why the shard doesn't have control of it or whatever.
Yeah. I
mean, that was fun. Whoever threw the door open and kick his ass.
That was Iodon. He opened this door and screwed everything up.
Yep.
He found the ancient scroll that's like, do not open this door.
Yeah, that's all I got this week.
Okay. Cool.
That's all you've got.
That's it. I mean, come on.
I don't have anything about Hrathen and Dilaf. I'm just like, I didn't think anything today.
No. Yeah, I mean, I really like the idea of Dilaf being taken to become an Elantrian. That would be just beautiful, I think. I know that's already been thrown out there. My prediction, I thought the line where they were like, you've got to have Aonic blood, or, I mean, you could be Tio, but you have to live here. And I was like, oh no, that's some people we know. So
it is. I didn't even think about that. That's true.
I sort of thought they could take Serene, maybe, and then she'd meet Raoden, maybe. But then I thought maybe Uncle Keen might become Elantrian.
Oh shit!
Would not be good, but he also knows Raoden as well. So I don't know. They might be able to do something from the inside. It also means that Serene might know a bit more about what's actually going on or what possibly could have happened. Yeah, that would sort of be a connecting point for them to be able to talk about it. So as much as I don't want that to happen, I feel like something like that could happen.
Yeah. Sorry, you're opening up all sorts of... So, if Serene shows up in Elantris and she's suddenly an Elantrian, does he tell her? It's like, oh, by the way, we're married? Or is that something you keep to yourself at that point?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. We don't know if they know what each other looked like. Like, would they recognize each other?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But maybe not. They would have to sort of know a little bit about each other, what they look like beforehand. And I mean, I know they can call each other, but I'm not sure FaceTime's really an option through the seance. So it could work. But
I think it said the seance like turn into like the other person's head, kind of.
They do?
But yeah, like when you're talking to him, it turns into like the head of the person you're talking to. But I don't know that we know how much detail you get in that.
Yeah. Like they could recognize each other, or they could, have figure it out and have a conversation. But I'm just not quite sure what that would do. I feel like Serene's got more to do on the other side. It sort of makes sense for them not to be together yet. But if there was someone who knew Serene who went in there, that could kind of give Raoden reason to get out. Maybe again, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how it would work, but I think there's someone that we know, I think, that will become Elantrian. I'd love to say it would be Dilaf, but that's really just because he's a dickhead. Just to see him suffer for a little bit, but I don't think that would further the story so much from there. But yeah, that's kind of my only prediction this week. I don't have much in terms of the magic. I like Dak's ideas where that's going as well. But yeah, that's
You're right. It's like Raoden doesn't even know necessarily that Serene is in town, because I think he actually says like, yeah, she won't come now because we're supposed to get married, but once she hears what happened to me, then she'll just stay in Tio. I think he mentioned. I think he says that to Galadon, so he doesn't even know she's here. So would he recognize her if she came in? That's But now you got me thinking. Okay, everybody. So if somebody we know is going to end up getting taken and coming into town, if only to tell Raoden that, hey, by the way, your wife is here. Other than Dilaf, who we've all been like, hey, that guy should get turned into an Elantrian, right? Or Serene, who we just talked about, or Keen, because we just talked about him. Who are the top? Who would be most interesting to see get turned into an Elantrian and suddenly shoved in here?
I don't know about most interesting, but his stepmother, Raoden's stepmother.
That's what I was thinking. Like Queen Eshin, who just will not shut up. That would be hilarious.
It'd be random. I thought Iodon at first, and I was like, nah, that'd screw a lot of things up if that happened. But yeah, Eshin would be funny.
For the heartbreaking option, Casey.
Oh, okay, that is sad. Any of Keen's kids, even Lucal, like I don't want to see him in there.
Yeah, look what you've done now, Data. Now we're just making each other sad.
Oh yeah, but I mean, Raoden's in there, so if she shows up, then he'll protect her, and she might she's gonna end up like a spoiled Elantrian brat, who's like trying to boss everyone around.
I mean, she's like got a genius level intellect. Maybe she'll just figure all this shit out. And
yeah, she can figure out the magic. That's perfect.
yeah.
Like she picks up languages all the time. She can pick up the AonDor.
Yeah, I like it. Sorry, Jamie, were you saying something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just agreeing. I thought that as sad as it would be, that would be quite a good option. She reads lots of books, absorbs lots of information. I mean, even from the outside, she might be able to figure a lot of it out. Maybe they'll smuggle books out to her.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no reason she couldn't help if they could somehow communicate with the outside. Yeah.
She does seem to, from that earlier chapter, she knew a lot about the Elantrians and how they functioned somehow, and Serene wasn't sure how.
Yeah, Casey, and also Dilaf in this chapter. It's like there's some people that just know more than it seems like they should know. And Dilaf puts it down to like, oh yeah, I heard the rumors. From Casey, we didn't even get that much. Maybe she's listening to these same rumors that Dilaf is hearing. They run in the same circles, these two.
Casey and Dilaf have part of like a reading circle.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me look here. No new emails this week, so nothing on that end. For next time, we're going to be reading 3 chapters. So it's almost like we're doing another chapter triad, but it's going to be not all in a row because we just got Raoden's. So we're going to get Serene and Hrathen from this same period as Raoden's chapter that we just read, and then we're going to get Raoden's next chapter. So I'm throwing us off a little bit. Sorry. So chapters 20, 21, and 22 for next time. And I guess for listeners, next time for us is going to be like tomorrow. So if you're sending emails, we may not read them for a couple of weeks because we're getting a little bit ahead so that we can skip some weeks later on. So just thought I would throw that out
for
there.
A few weeks.
It's true. Yeah, it hasn't been a big thing. And honestly, I almost took the 2 emails from the end of last week's episode because last week's episode ended up being real long. I almost was like, I'm just going to save these and I'll put them in next week's episode because it doesn't look like we're going to have any emails for next week. But then I was like, I don't know for sure that like Dak and Jamie are both going to make it for the next one because you never know, what might happen. So it would be weird if all four of us were answering questions, but one of them was not in the rest of the episode.
Yeah. That would be puzzling. Wait, when did Jamie get there? What? What's happening?
That's why I didn't do that. But turns out that I could have, but too late now. So
Oh, well.
yeah. So yeah, we won't have any emails or reviews tomorrow either, I'm sure. So it's fine. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wasing to the Time of Next, everyone. Colo? Yeah. I almost forgot it. Almost.
Money to a Lord, get up, get out.